Uh, the SGPN Fantasy Football Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is presented by Winbet. Winbet is now live in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Louisiana, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Tennessee, and Virginia. From boosted same-game parlays to live in-game odds, WynnBET has what you need to win. Sign up today, bet $100, and get a $100 free bet at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WynnBET. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WYNNBET.
And welcome into the Fantasy Football Podcast presented by the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. I'm your host, Justin Bruni. Joining me tonight is Mr. Emerson Beery. Andrew Robb is out sick. Appreciate you filling in, sir. How are you doing?
I am fabulous today. Just got done enjoying my Chiefs getting a victory today. Watched that couple exciting games there with Buffalo, Minnesota, Packers, Cowboys. So definitely got some good football today.
Yeah, today was a roller coaster for me, to say the least. It was an emotional roller coaster. Was going up against the top 10 there of the week 10 battle royale on Underdog. I actually didn't see what I wound up falling down to, but I can get a little update on it. The old completed column here now, I believe. But yeah, it was a long day of sitting at the very top of that chart. $35,000.
Oh, I saw you up there. Oh, it pained me when you started dipping down that board a bit. But man, it's exciting when you see your name up there. It's like $35,000. Oh man, I know
it could happen. Oh man, we fell real hard. Top 100 maybe.
Yeah, it was tough. What was my best finish? I'd have to look at it here.
Yeah, I'm trying to scroll through. I had about 149 points or so, and the leader had 170.
My best team had 144, so I was considerably off. I still ended up tripling my money for the day, but it was still 26 points from the big money, so I wasn't that close, but I ended up doing okay.
140th is where I finished. 140th. A far cry from first place, that's for sure. And I was going in on the Bills earlier. I mean, I'll definitely be complaining about them throughout the show for certain. But yeah, that fumble on the goal line that allowed Minnesota to extend the game, that really, really hurt me. At least kept me out of the conversation of even having a shot at the 35,000, because anything could have happened in the afternoon games. Coincidentally, a couple of big booming players out of the afternoon games as well pushed me down the charts. But it's all good. It's all good. We'll live to fight another week. Still, grabbed a good amount of walking around cash. I can definitely get a haircut tomorrow. I think I can afford it now. Good. So that's feeling pretty good about that. God, this freaking bush on my head, man. It's just nonstop. But we are here to break down week 10 and give our instant reactions, our fantasy football analysis. Emerson, do you want to start in Germany at the bottom of the card, or do you want to start at the top of the card, most recent games? What do you think?
Let's start in Germany. Let's start with the one that ended first. I like it.
All right, sounds good. So we had the Tampa Bay Buccaneers win 21-16 over the Seahawks. What were your instant reactions from this game going forward for fantasy? I know that we saw Leonard Fournette potentially go down. He might be missing some time. It's pretty balanced as far as like the pass catchers go on both sides. What was your big takeaways from this one?
I think the biggest takeaway is, the success of Rachaad White, 22 carries, 105 yards. It's not a flashy stat line because he didn't catch any passes, but this is a guy who will catch passes. Leonard Fournette could be missing some time. Leonard Fournette hasn't been all that productive up into the season, usually averaging that 2 to 3 yards per carry. So it wouldn't, Rachaad White, this is his opportunity. He actually, I was just talking, I was talking with Dave, today on the show after you left, and I was saying that actually Rachaad White hasn't looked that good either, but today he did look very explosive. This is the kind of thing you see all the time, that younger, highly drafted back kind of take, running back is a tough position in the NFL. So, 4 or 5 year careers are kind of like, that's just how it kind of the standard status quo in the NFL. So I think that's my biggest takeaway. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, better days are ahead for the Seattle offense. I think, it was just a tough matchup with that Tampa Bay defense. Chris Godwin played well. We finally saw a touchdown. I was hoping that touchdown would come. Lots of targets recently as well. Mike Evans is kind of having an off year. It feels like just not that same connection with Brady. So maybe time to move Mike Evans more into that real back end, maybe wide receiver 1, high end wide receiver 2 conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to me, there weren't too many big takeaways from this one. Geno Smith and Tom Brady was a comparison that we did on the preview show. Geno Smith just barely edged him out, I think, by like a point, 2 points maybe in most scoring formats. Kenneth Walker was definitely a dud this week, but I think any drastic movement on him would be a miscalculation. I think you want to ride strong with him if you are not past your trade deadline just yet. I think for most leagues we're up today. For a lot of my leagues, the trade deadline will be this week. I have a few left that will be the next week. But yeah, if you're still looking to move off of him, I would not recommend it. Still had a great amount of receptions. What was he at? 6 catches? Yeah, 6 for 55. Second in receiving total yards for the Seahawks this week in Germany. It's kind of a weird game for the Seahawks. It felt like they got off to a really slow start. Did have 13 points in the fourth quarter to kind of save our fantasy days. That was nice. But I think there are, like you had mentioned, for Metcalf and Lockett, better days are ahead. I think even for Geno Smith as well. He has, I believe, at least 2 passing touchdowns in every game but 3 games this season, Geno Smith. So this is Tom Brady's just his second multi-touchdown performance this season. Maybe some brighter weeks are ahead for Tom as well. Tom, I feel like is a targetable asset. If you need to trade for a quarterback in Superflex leagues and that period's still going to be available for you this week, I don't hate going after him if he's on a roster that's overridden with quarterback depth. Tons of passing volume there.
Yep, absolutely. We keep saying Tom Brady's going to turn it around every single week. It's another solid performance, but it's just kind of been the status quo this year, kind of that 15 to 20 points per game. So we'll see what happens. But out of all these kind of struggling quarterbacks, those late round, those late QB ones that struggling tier, Matthew Stafford, Russell Wilson, I think Tom Brady has the best chance to turn it around.
Yeah, this was also actually the first week in 7 weeks that he threw less than 40 times. So maybe being able to get this running game going is going to mean some better things for the offense in total and, for the team. I mean, obviously they took home an important win. They're now 5-5 on the season. So, it was big time for them for sure. All right, let's get into this next one here. It's a rough one. A lot of emotions. Vikings and Bills, complete roller coaster ride. And this is a roller coaster that you wait for hours to ride. And then it's just abrupt, There's just so many abrupt endings and close calls. You go from everywhere from the fumbling on the goal line to the Gabe Davis catch that shouldn't have been a catch, to Josh Allen being in a situation to tie the game, then throws an interception. Again, complete roller coaster. Tons of emotions for me because I was losing my mind, falling down the battle royale charts. But speaking from our fantasy point of views here, first off, I got to ask you about the Josh Allen injury and how you kind of feel about him going forward. It felt like 80% of the game, it felt like he was fine. There was just these minor little flashes where you're like, he's favoring his arm, he's favoring his elbow. Now another play goes by and it looks like he's giving way too much of an effort. Are you going to feel comfortable about starting him going forward after this performance and everything that we've seen off of the injury?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Josh Allen, of course, starting going forward. Is he that quarterback one going forward? We might see this injury bother him a little bit. I certainly think him and Patrick Mahomes are kind of right step and step as where, a few weeks ago, I might have said that he was, clear and ahead the quarterback one. So, him and Patrick Mahomes are kind of in that same tier. We'll see how that arm's bother him. More so than more concerned than I even am about the elbow, I would say, is that, Josh Allen is just, we're seeing a little bit of that first or second year, play. He's still one of the top 2 quarterback in the NFL, but we're seeing a few more of those plays that he had at Wyoming, a few more of those plays that he had at the beginning of his career, his first couple of years, some of those kind of interceptions, some of those mistakes. One of those interceptions was just it was wild. So I don't know. It's been that first interception.
The overtime one where he could have just stepped up into the pocket.
Yeah, it was the overtime one. Yeah, you're right about that. Yeah, actually.
My wife knows nothing about football and she was yelling for him to run.
Yeah, it was a wild. I just didn't know what he was seeing on that one. So it's just interesting to see. So of course, Josh Allen starting going forward. We'll just see. He's entering more. It's a lot closer between him and Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts though than we were a couple weeks ago, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm watching Jimmy run for a couple of yards here. 3rd and 3. Yikes. Yeah, I mean, again, not really too much to take away from fantasy here. I saw someone's comment about Justin Jefferson. Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yeah,
Diggs
I
didn't have a
had him
bad
as
day
the
either.
I
Diggs didn't
had
have a
him as
bad day
the
either.
I moved. I had Chase before the season as my wide receiver one, but I about 5 weeks into the season, I moved Justin Jefferson back into that wide receiver one spot. Yeah, and I think he is the wide receiver one. Chase is right there. I think when he comes back, tons of talent still, but yeah, Jefferson is that clearing ahead. I think.
Diggs 12 for 128 today, still really solid. I mean, it didn't, get up to like that 200-yard receiving upper echelon as Jefferson, but did have a couple more catches, didn't have the touchdown here. Let's see. I mean, man, they're spreading the ball around. I don't like KJ Osborne. I don't want you to see his production this week and pivot to him next week on buys, on injuries, on desperation plays. He put up a 0 just a week ago, so don't overreact to that. It's feeling like Thielen is a nice, safe play. You're never going to get that booming production, but I don't think he's going to overwhelmingly hurt you. He's not in as far of dud potential territory as, say, KJ Osborne. I mean, I feel like you're starting Singletary going forward, but you're really not getting too cute with these guys. I mean, Gabe Davis had a nice week. Are you going to feel comfortable about starting him going forward?
I mean, Gabe Davis is a starter. You just have to take the good with the bad.
Okay.
If you have him on your team, I think you're gonna have some bad weeks. But just like this is the weeks that you play him for. So I think Davis, of course, is a starter. You have to rank him as a low end, kind of mid-tier to low end wide receiver too, just based on his boom weeks. But yes, he's going to have those kind of single digit performances, unfortunately.
TJ Hawkins had a nice day, 7 for 45. Do you think he's going to kind of creep or start to creep into that territory that we're going to look for and target for, like, say, the battle royales? I know that you and I had a conversation about tight ends last week and about how important it is on, hitting the home run on that position. Do you think he's going to start to kind of creep into that territory where we can get him at a little bit better value in these weekly drafts?
I think he's entering that second tier with Zach Ertz, and kind of those other guys. He has solid target volume so far. So it's I think there could be a safer floor potentially with the Vikings. The Detroit Lions offense was pretty good, but there was a lot of target competition there. And we could see a bit, Adam Thielen isn't too intimidating of a player. Sorry, my phone's dinging at you.
No, you're good.
So I think TJ Hawkinson is in that second tier right behind Mark Andrews and Travis Kelce. Of course, anytime Travis Kelce, I'm anytime he's in my underdog drafts in the first round and I have an opportunity to take him, I'm going to take him just because you lock that in, that solid floor. So,
right.
But yeah, TJ Hawkinson is right in that next conversation though.
Well, a good segue. Speaking of, top tight ends, we're moving now to Detroit and Chicago, and Cole Kmet was my guy this week.
I saw that.
Had him in a couple of lineups. I had him with a stack with Fields. Obviously, that was the most profitable. But I also paired him up with Patrick Mahomes as well because I felt like that Justin Fields now entering that QB1 conversation. He was my QB4 coming into this week, for week 10. Obviously, with that type of evolution in your play and that kind of upswing, it's got to work for everybody else around him, right? And that's clearly benefited Kmet, who I think has – is that 3 multi-touchdown games in the last 4 or 5 weeks now?
Yeah, I think you might be right about that. Yeah,
it's been something sort of ridiculous. So that was really the only play I was chasing there was if Fields is, a quarterback one now, if he's like a top 5 guy and they're going to be in that, scoring zone and they've got a good matchup up against the Lions, Kmet should be that guy. In a lot of redraft formats, Kmet's probably still available, in a lot of shallower leagues. So that's definitely someone you want to target this week if he's still available. I do know that he left the end of the game with an injury. That'll be a situation to follow here. But I feel like, the advancement and evolution of Fields' game is, raising the bar and giving the receivers a nice, healthy upswing. Mooney, 4 for 57. Kmet, 4 for 74, and had the 2 touchdowns. You're not going to dig too much deeper than that. It would have been nice to see Claypool do something. He was only 1 for 8, but did draw a couple of big penalties. Man, Amon-Ra St. Brown, he did everything but score a touchdown today, 10 for 119. I'm not trying to really guess which tight end to get in my lineup, Mitchell or Brock Wright for the Lions. I'm going to kind of stay off of that. I do recommend owning them in Dynasty because you just never know who could, come to fruition if they really like one of those guys going into next year, especially if you're trying to, maybe pack it in, stash players for next season and get a good head start for next year. I mean, how far is Fields going to go, man? Like, how far is he going to climb the quarterback rankings for the rest of the season? If he keeps doing this, like, he's going to break the league.
Yeah, I mean, it's really is remarkable, especially, just considering, 12 pass completions. You think like, man, you just look at that 12 for 20, you're like, ooh, it was a rough day for Fields. Actually not 40 points in fantasy. Yeah, I mean, it's been ridiculous. This is the kind of cheat code for fantasy football. It's kind of like the rushing quarterback floor that kind of just this gives you. So Justin Fields, what he's doing with weapon, kind of a lackluster receiving core. Darnell Mooney, Chase Claypool are solid options, but past that, it's really, not, Cole Kmet's solid as well. But
right.
Yeah, as you know, is considering what you see around the league with Aaron Rodgers struggling and some other quarterbacks like Matthew Stafford struggling with the weapons that they have, it's pretty impressive to see what Justin Fields is doing. Regardless, he probably will never get to that level of passing, but is a Jalen Hurts career trajectory, something like that, improving next year? I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. So I'm going to update my dynasty rankings every week, but he'll move ahead of Trevor Lawrence for me this week. I think I just had him back to back this week. I had Justin Fields at 12 and him at 11. I'm going to go ahead and move Justin Fields ahead of him, I think, and probably maybe ahead of Dak Prescott as well. So, he's going to be climbing into that almost mid-tier quarterback one territory for me in dynasty leagues.
I mean, it's hard not to, right? I mean, when you're looking at that safe rushing floor, and it's not even the rushing floor, it is the QB design runs. Like, the play calling is there for him. It's not like it's every single play is a breakdown where, he's, posted up and the options aren't there and he's, extending the play. A lot of it is just quarterback design runs. They've been doing a lot in the red zone. They're just, the Bears are being a lot more mischievous and deceptive with their play calling recently. It'd be nice to get a win. It'd be nice to get a win, but we've really committed to the bit, we'll say, as far as rebuilding goes.
Get that draft capital. There you go.
Oh, we're getting it. We are getting it. All right, next up, not that exciting of a game. Broncos 10, Titans 17. Derrick Henry held in check. It was nice to see Ryan Tannehill bounce back. Not sure what's going to happen here with the receivers going forward with the Broncos with Jerry Jeudy hurt, but it definitely has to boost Courtland Sutton's value, at least in the short term, if not the rest of the season. Not buying into any of the receiving work of Nick Westbrook-Akine or Austin Hooper here. Not really guys that I'm interested in. Was nice to see that Treylon Burks was, able to contribute his first week back. I'm hoping to see him build on that performance. There's not really too much buy or sell movement here for me, other than, you might feel confident about starting Tannehill if you're short at the position on a bye week. Russ Wilson, not someone I'm confident putting in my lineups. They caught the broken play with, some random guy off the sofa. Virgil, do you know who this fella is here?
I've heard the name, but yeah, I wasn't.
Jalen Virgil.
Yeah. I knew the name, but yeah, I wasn't familiar with this play really.
I'm not too brushed up on Appalachian State wide receivers. I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm going to be better. I know Kendall Hinton because he was their quarterback at one point. So I knew who that was. Didn't know who he was until, he was their random quarterback for a week. But yeah, I'm not really buying into any of this. Chase Edmonds didn't do anything. 2 for 9 on the ground, 1 catch. Can't be trusted until it shows otherwise. Anything big here for you that bounces off the box score here?
Russell Wilson can be cut in standard leagues.
Get rid of him. Let's ride to the waivers.
In one quarterback standard league, redraft leagues, you can move on from Russell Wilson. I think don't even think. It's more hurting you just having you on team because you keep thinking you can put him in your lineup safely. And, at this point, you might be out of the playoffs because of Russell Wilson. But if you aren't yet, I think it's just time to get off this train. We're not riding with Russell Wilson anymore. Melvin Gordon, Latavius Murray, they have a pretty split backfield. It's not very exciting. Yikes. Melvin Gordon, maybe slightly ahead, deeper flex option. Courtland Sutton still not very impressive, even with Jerry Jeudy out most of the game. Jerry Jeudy, they're hoping it isn't very serious. You maybe expect him to miss a game though. Could potentially miss a game. Courtland Sutton still probably just a wide receiver 3, mid to low end wide receiver 3 for me for there. Probably temper back the expectations on Greg Dulcich. I got excited too. I had him as a tight end 1. Probably time. Yeah. Probably time to reel it back. We got excited. Sorry about that.
Him and Kate Otten.
Yeah, exactly. It's just it's rough. They could have some big games down the stretch. They have
The
some bright
thought
futures
process was
potentially.
there, Emerson. The lights were on. You know what I mean?
It's tough for these rookie tight end. And the tight end position is just such a volatile position. There's these guys. It's just not a position that's super relevant. And like they do a lot of block. They do a lot of things in the NFL, but for fantasy purposes, most tight ends are just they're out there blocking. And they're just an afterthought in the passing
Get
game.
in the way.
Just kind of get that random touchdown. Westbrook, the king. I don't think I've ever actually said it. Akine, is that? I don't think I've ever actually said his name on the podcast out loud. So I actually needed to learn how to say it.
I always called him
Westbrook Akine.
I always said Akine, and then today I heard Akine on the television, so I'm going to roll with that.
So yeah, he was impressive. I'm sure he will be a hot waiver wire pickup. Pick him up off waivers. I'm not jumping up and down. I think this is more of just a random performance, but better days are ahead for Derrick Henry, of course. Traylon Burks kind of eased back in. 3 catches for 24 yards. Yeah, nothing very exciting. Austin Hooper is just a low-end tight end too. So, yeah, nothing too exciting.
If that. Like Austin Hooper reeks of dud territory. Like if there's potential to throw up a goose egg, Austin Hooper reeks of it. This Austin Hooper and Nick Westbrook Akine production all came at the week of a huge downswing for Derrick Henry, 19 for 53. That's not going to be the case going forward. So yeah, it was nice. Like I said, it was refreshing to see, Tannehill be able to bounce back. I'm thinking that, they're probably going to move on from him in the offseason. I think they've made it kind of clear, like they want to move forward with Malik Willis. Hopefully he can, kind of make that step forward. I'm not saying he's going to be Justin Fields next year or a version of him that we've gotten, these past 4 weeks or this past month or whatever. But I think Tannehill could also be, a decent buy if you're really hurting at the quarterback position at a dynasty deadline. He might be on a new roster next year with a potential, new team, better weapons. Wouldn't hate to see him on Pittsburgh, if they don't believe in Kenny Pickett coming into next season. But that's a talk for another day. We're getting pretty close to the offseason already. We'll be having plenty of those chats soon ahead. Next up here, we've got the Dolphins and the Browns. Shout out to the Browns for putting on a decent show, in the final half. They only put up 7 points in the first, put up 10 in the second, but they got some scoring in, made Nick Chubb relevant, made Donovan Peoples-Jones relevant. If you were on him this week, Donovan Peoples-Jones has a just incredulous safe floor. I don't know what it is. Like, I don't know why he's such a safe play each week, but you got to feel like he's going to have a big upswing with Deshaun Watson coming back here soon, right? Like, I got to feel like he's a big buy guy right now if he's available. I feel like everything was up to expectation, lived up to my expectations from the Miami Dolphins. Jeff Wilson is the number one. Mostert's still going to be reliable week in and week out. And, you're never really benching these receivers. Damn it, Emerson. I benched Trent Sherfield on a whim because he was a late addition to the injury report. Ouch. Ouch.
I can't. Why were you even thinking about starting him? I can't.
Okay, so, here it is. It was CJ Osborne, Trent Sherfield, Chris Moore, or somebody else. Oh, Michael Bandy. Okay.
Yeah, I guess at that point.
I went with Michael Bandy and Chris Moore. I made the wrong decisions, but I'm gonna win by like a lot. So I'm not gonna lose sleep or lose the matchup, which is most important. Everybody else boomed, and I still have a couple more players to go, and I've got a huge lead, so I'll be fine.
There you go.
But regardless, I was sitting there like, oh my God, of course, KJ Osborne does some stuff. Oh, of course. I think Darius Slayton may have been on the bench too. Like, golly, killing me. I did start him somewhere though. You play enough fantasy football, you're gonna.
You have everybody starting.
Exactly.
You're playing everybody. You're starting everybody. But Jeff Wilson. Yeah, I mean, this backfield's frustrating. Just like we thought it was going to be Edmonds, it was Mostert, and then we got Wilson now. I think this will be a little frustrating going forward. I mean, Wilson obviously seems to be the lead, and I would start him next week. I would not actually feel great about starting Mostert going forward, just because of just that Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle make up so much of that offense. I mean, it was kind of, he had some up and down weeks already regardless. So Jeff Wilson, I guess, is taking over this back. He loves his 49er running backs. Like, oh man, Mike McDaniels is just a machine back there. Really impressive. But Yeah, Tyreek Hill, of course, Jalen Waddle. Once again, I keep saying it today, but kind of course, better days are once again ahead. That's kind of the
And
keep saying that today.
These aren't
better
bad days,
and
And
yeah, I mean they're okay. I mean it was
4
fine,
for 66 for Waddle, 5 for 44 and a touchdown for Hill.
50,
I mean,
15 points, 10 points. Yeah,
in
solid
a game
performances. Yeah, they'll be big
in a game where they really spread the ball around. I mean, like.
Yeah.
You saw Trent Sherfield. He had 4 catches. Hill had 5. Waddle had 4. Alec Ingold, I think, still had 4 catches as well and a touchdown. Great glue guy. Very similar to kind of that Jeff Wilson pickup where he's just really fitting well in the system. So, I mean, I know you said you had some concern about Mostert. I really don't. I feel like in this offense, they have the weapons that they need. They're just kind of constantly being in. They're going to constantly be in scoring territory. Excuse me. So I feel confident in firing all these guys up. Maybe not Alec Ingold, but there's always exceptions to the rule. We actually did accidentally skip over Kansas City and Jacksonville here.
I'll let you.
Yeah, my bad. Hey, whoa, this is a great game for me. I've told all of you, I've recently gave away like my entire future set of draft picks for Patrick Mahomes. Great week to see that result. I'd like to see a little bit more out of Isaiah Pacheco, but he looked good. And Christian Kirk was booming for me today. What were the big reactions from you as a Kansas City Chiefs fan? I know that Juju going down wasn't pretty, but everybody else filled in pretty well.
Man, these concussions are ugly this year. It seems like we constantly see that kind of frozen arm position. And Juju Smith-Schuster had a similar reaction to the concussion that kind of Tua did. His arms locked up in front of his face, and that's unfortunate. So we'll probably see him maybe out this week, just kind of with this new kind of concussion protocol. So I hope he's okay, because he's really been great. He's been great for the Kansas City Chiefs these last few weeks. Two 100-yard performances in the last 3 games. Wide receiver 1 each of the last 3 games. So been super solid. So I hope he gets back soon. I liked what Pacheco was doing out there. He had 16 carries for 82 yards. Looked super explosive. Clyde Edwards-Helaire only had 4 snaps, 2 targets. He had a drop. So
he didn't have a carry, did he? He didn't have a rushing attempt though.
Zero rushing attempts.
That's a big factor to keep in mind going forward. Like no touches in the run game whatsoever, I think is a significant tell.
Yeah, I mean it's becoming more of a 2 committee backfield. I mean McKinnon had almost all of the passing down work, so you might see that going forward, but Pacheco, I mean, I see a scenario where he could be like a low-end RB2 down the stretch here. He's not that yet. I'm not comfortable putting him in lineups yet, but I could see that getting there. Kadarius Toney, I've been really negative on Kadarius Toney for quite some time, just because just missing practice for things here and there.
I caught that when I got off the show. I was listening for a little bit, and then I just heard you just dogging Kadarius Toney.
I mean, I just wanted to see it first, and he's been very impressive. I can see a scenario where he is the Chiefs, top wide receiver next year. So, he's a potential buy. I'm writing a dynasty article for 5 Rush, and he's one of the guys I'm going to be highlighting as a dynasty riser. So Kadarius Toney looked really good. Marcus Valdes-Scantling had a big game today. He's running all the routes. He's getting all the snaps. So it was good to see a good game out of him. We could, he's a guy that I still want to be rostering, just because, he's out there with Patrick Mahomes on almost every play. So that was some of my quick impressions. Hopefully we see, Travis Kelce's amazing. The Chiefs get burned consistently by opposing wide receivers. Christian Kirk. Yeah, that was going to be an easy play. So always start the top end wide receiver for the other team against the Kansas City Chiefs. What's happening in that game? What's happening? I see you watching it. What's happening?
No. It was nothing from that. It was more just the stuff from the game, really. Me and Joe Pepe during our preview show, we did Juju Smith-Schuster versus Christian Kirk, and like all the numbers just suggested this was going to be a big booming opportunity play for both guys. The Jacksonville Jaguars had given up the 3rd most receiving touchdowns to wide receivers. The Chiefs had given up the 7th most receiving touchdowns to wide receivers, and both were coming in, with pretty respectable 3-week recaps, right? So both were in a really good position. And of course, this was the first one that we had agreed on in Juju Smith-Schuster, because he got to play with Patrick Mahomes. And then of course he gets hurt early. I also dropped MVS this week. So that was not great. In a team where, let's see, Jerry Jeudy put up a goose egg. Scotty Miller put up 3.25. DJ Moore put up 5.5. Like, it was bad. It was not very good. And everyone on my bench didn't play. They didn't play. They're all hurt around by. It was perfect. MVS sitting on the damn waivers. I am waiting for them to score a touchdown here, though. They're at the damn 1 yard line. All right. And I would, you know what? Normally you'd be like, hey, you just run that in. But I need them to Russell Wilson this shit. And I need Jimmy to throw it to CMC. I need them to stack that up for me. That'd be great. Or just let CMC finish it. But
I'd like to see a little something out of Deebo Samuel. It's making me nervous. That's what
You know what? They've already given him a carry for 7 yards, okay? There's not enough carries to go around. They all need to go to McCaffrey. And Elijah Mitchell is already 5 for 23 because he's just that dude. Elijah Mitchell just going to ball when been given the chance. That's just what's going to happen. MVS or Kadarius Toney, if Juju is out for a long period of time, who do you want to own more so rest of season?
Yeah, I hope Juju's only gone for a week or so, but next week, for example, I will be. That's really tough, actually. I'm gonna go with Scantling. I'm gonna chase the snap count there. I think of course, long term down the stretch of the season, I think Kadarius Toney's a great pick, but at least for one more week, I'm gonna be going with Scantling. But yeah, Toney, is looking really good so far, and I'll be moving him up my dynasty rankings, like I said.
Is that Jimmy falling into the pile? James, is that you? That was Jimothy. He did the damn thing. He fell forward.
Oh, I see. Rushing touchdown for Jimmy. All right. That's okay. I don't think
Works
I have too much. Yeah. I most of my games are already decided. I think we want at least the ones I have these guys in. So,
I have a stack with Jimmy and CMC, and I'm already up by a lot. And then in another one, I'm going up against CMC, and I'm up by a lot, but the guy has an opportunity. So that was just perfect for me. That was beautiful stuff. And honestly, as bad as it was to fall down the battle royale, man, fantasy football is going pretty well for me today.
Yeah, I've had a good week.
It's a pretty good week. And if you've watched the show, I've had some bad weeks. So this was a nice turnaround. This is great.
How did this happen? I'm seeing one matchup that flip-flopped on me. My goodness, what is happening here? Oh, it's Palmer. It's Palmer not doing anything.
It's 9:30 Eastern time. That's what it is. I hate it. I hate winning all day, and then you're just like, wait a minute, what happened here?
Wait a minute.
It was like the fourth quarter of the afternoon games. You're like, shit. How do we recover? All right, next up, we've got the Texans and the Giants. This one was a weird game. Giants were up for a lot of it. We got some great garbage time production from the Texans. Brandon Cooks came out of nowhere and was relevant. Dameon Pierce, pretty much did Dameon Pierce things. Great production off of great volume. Just constantly fed the ball. Darius Slayton is the guy that I do want going forward ahead of Wan'Dale Robinson. If you look up the comparison on their ADOTs, it's a billion yards in favor of Slayton. It's not even close. He is the deep threat in this offense. And in an offense that's not going to pass a lot, give me the guy that can make a big booming play in Darius Slayton. Obviously, you want to garnish his starts going forward, with some caution. You don't want to just be throwing him out there week in and week out. Make sure it's a good matchup like it was this week. Although, if you were looking at projections on any platform, they had him in the basement at 2 or 3 points. I didn't understand that. There was some disrespect getting thrown around there. You're not trusting any receivers for the Houston Texans going forward. I started last week Philip Dorsett on a whim. That worked out. I started Chris Moore this week on a whim. That worked out. I'm not banking on that going forward. I'm hoping that Mike Williams is going to be healthy next week, and I won't have to make that decision on which one of those flyers to start. Do you trust Daniel Jones in your lineups going forward? I mean, it doesn't feel like he's someone that's going to drastically hurt you, but he doesn't really reek of booming production or someone that's going to bring you home a bonus or win you a points league or just go out there and again put up the big totals for you.
Yeah, I mean he's the bye week. He's more of a bye week, really good streaming option for me in one quarterback leagues. He's a solid starter for me now in Superflex leagues. Though he's kind of in that back end quarterback 2 territory with upside. I don't think he's going to get a rushing touchdown every week. That kind of saved his day today. So yeah, I think Daniel Jones, solid back end quarterback too. Like I said, with upside, kind of almost like a Taysom Hill version of He's just like a lot of upside. You're going to have some dud weeks though. Yeah, Barkley, of course, the running backs in this game. I want to lock them in my lineups every single week. Saquon Barkley's top 5, top 3, top 5 play every week. Dameon Pierce, borderline, top 12, top 10 option. All the pass catchers in these offenses, though, I know Darius Slayton's been good, and I do like him as a flex, more of a flex option, but he's still not someone I'm jumping up and down about every single week. Yeah, and the rest of these guys, time to move Brandon Cooks to the bench. He's kind of even sliding out of wide receiver 3 territory more, even as a wide receiver 4 at this point. Nico Collins, though,
he scored a touchdown though.
Yeah. Nico Collins, you saying?
Oh no, Brandon Cooks had that touchdown called back. I'm sorry, my bad. I forgot about that.
Yeah. So he did have a touchdown called back. So
my bad.
But he's still 4 catches, 37 yards with that. So we'll see. Brandon Cooks still targeted for that touchdown. So he's probably still a starter. He's still probably a starter in some, especially since some leagues are getting deeper now. But yeah, not excited about any of these pass catchers. Tight ends super desolate at both sides. Not looking too much at Jordan Atkins' performance. So
Barkley, 36 total touches. We got to expect a bit of a dip next week, right? Do we kind of think he's a landmine and maybe like the daily formats?
He'll be very popular. So, it's always kind of, he's also priced to that too. So, he's always he's never a bad option in DFS just because he's priced so high that he's avoided in a lot of lineups. So I don't think it'll change too much, but he had a couple down, relatively down games where he didn't, he wasn't finding the end zone these last couple weweeks. RB 14, RB 16 the last 2 weeks at least in this league setting. So my goodness. A lot of rushing touchdowns this year, no receiving touchdowns yet. So he's capable of having, but just a super safe floor with that amount of volume though.
I looked at his opponent for next week, Detroit. You got to fire him up.
Oh yeah. See, 20, he'll be
20 touches up against Detroit. I mean, boom.
He'll have like DraftKings, he'll have like a $9,000 salary or something like that. He'll be close to that at least.
Right. I made a quick word from the sponsors, pay some bills. We'll be right back after this. Ready to win money and boost your odds? WinBet is now live in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Louisiana, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Tennessee, and Virginia. We're bringing the excitement of Win Las Vegas to online sports betting and casino play. Exclusive rewards are right at your fingertips with Win Rewards on WinBet. Be on the lookout for the WinBet Win Hour each Thursday from 5 to 6 p.m. Eastern Time. During the WinBet Win Hour, marquee games of the week will have better odds on WinBet, giving you a larger payout opportunity. Great promos, odds, payouts are happening right now at WinBet. From boosted same-game parlays to live in-game odds and every major sport, WinBet has what you need to win. Ready to play? Sign up today and receive a special offer. Bet 100, win 100. There's so much to choose from, and all you have to do is head over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/winbet so they know that we sent you. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WINNBET to claim your free bet today. Offer subject to change. Terms and conditions at winbet.com. Must be 21 or older and present in the state where playthrough WinBet is available. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, please call 1-800-522-4700. Get your holiday shopping done early at the SGPN merch store. SGPN gear is the perfect stocking stuffer for the DGen in your life. Plus, from now until Thanksgiving, you can get 10% off when you use promo code DallasSucks. That's store.sportsgamblingpodcast.com, promo code DallasSucks. All right. And we're getting back into it. Coming back around to New Orleans and Pittsburgh. Only 30 points in this game. It stunk. I will tell you some bright spots that I did enjoy was Najee Harris going 20 for 99. Didn't do anything in receptions. Jalen Warren still had 12 total touches, 9 catches, 37 yards, and just 3 catches for 40 yards. That was a second on the team, 40 receiving yards. But I felt like Najee was kind of able to weather the storm that is Jalen Warren, who may still very well be on his back and breathing down his neck for more production. But I thought Najee had a nice bounce back game. Nothing really too much for me to buy into the Saints here. I do like Juwan Johnson as kind of a steady floor going forward at the tight end position. If you're battling injuries, if you're battling buys, whatever it is, I do feel like he's a respectable pivot given the recent production. I would like to see some more consistency out of Chris Olave, but I feel like given what we've seen from him throughout the season, he's a safe start going forward. Very concerned about Alvin Kamara starting him for the rest of the season, but he is not someone that you can really pivot off of. What were the big takeaways from this game for you?
Yeah, I'm not too worried about Alvin Kamara. I still think, he'll have, he's I think a lot more susceptible to that dead game this year. But I still think he'll have a lot of boom weeks going forward. Yeah, Jalen Warren. Yeah, I think but Najee Harris. It was great to see him have a decent game, but I think Jalen Warren is still going to be commanding a decent amount of the targets. And especially the amount of targets in this offense. So it kind of is going to. It takes away all that ceiling that we had last year with Najee Harris, all those targets that we got. So that's kind of, puts him, Najee Harris is more like a low end RB2 and Jalen Warren is kind of a mid to back end, maybe RB3. And it was nice to see George Pickens get a touchdown pass. Deontay Johnson was solid. These guys are never going to be too exciting. I believe, Kenny Pickett just isn't going to be capable of throwing for a ton of yards or anything like that, which is going to cap these guys upside. Deontay Johnson does not consistently get a very high ADOT. He does not consistently get very many yards after the catch. So you're really going to be counting on days that he gets. It was relatively good today. On the four catches he did get, he did have 63 yards, which is pretty good for him. But most days he's going to need to get peppered with targets and a relatively good, high quality targets to be a good fantasy play. So. Yeah, Pat Freiermuth's, solid targets for a tight end. He has, Pat Freiermuth is a low upside, high end floor tight end for me. Sitting in that back end tight end one territory. Juwan Johnson also boom bust. But when you are dealing with bye weeks and things like that, I think you can kind of slide him in as that kind of mid to back end tight end too as well.
Yeah, I agree. He's not someone that's a sexy name or a sexy start, but I don't think that you should be running to the waiver wire if you have him rostered and, you got one more flex position to fill. I feel like he's going to be solid for you unless, again, you see like a big opportunity play on the waivers. But, don't get desperate if you still have him rostered. All right, next up, we've got the Colts and the Raiders. Jeff Saturday, he's 1-0. First decision, Matt Ryan, you're my quarterback. Like, not the worst idea. I don't hate it. Good job in that. It seemed like an easy move to make, but Matt Ryan, 21 for 28, 222 passing yards and one passing touchdown and one rushing touchdown, 4 for 38, and jumped over the pile on the goal line. I don't really know what to take away from the receivers for the Colts. If we can trust Michael Pittman going forward, I feel like he made a stronger argument for it this week, 7 for 53. But Paris Campbell has just been that guy. He's really been their change of pace asset, trying to hit the outside corners with rushing attempts, really easy sweeps, and, being used as a downfield threat. Really love him going forward. We've kind of brought his name up, sparingly the past couple of weeks, but definitely a name that we've been, telling you guys to keep an eye out for. Absolutely a buy candidate if available somehow. But, probably, his rostership has increased over the past couple of weeks. No Hunter Renfrow, no Darren Waller, no problem. Devontae Adams, 9 for 126, one receiving touchdown. Foster Morrow also had a touchdown. Really good production, really, from the Raiders. Just didn't win the game here. I mean, they were great for fantasy. Those are really my big takeaways. Nothing that really splashed at me, other than I may feel just a little bit more confident throwing Pittman into my lineup going forward.
Yeah, I mean, Pittman, is probably going to enter back into that wide receiver 2 conversation with Matt Ryan, which is going to be really good to see. Paris Campbell has been a wide receiver 1 the last 3 games he's played with Matt Ryan. He's been fantastic. He had a dip there with the 2 games that Sam Ehlinger started.
What was his production with Ehlinger, though? I felt like it wasn't that bad.
It wasn't great, though. He was the here in this particular league, which there's some variance. Like, I think there's like a fumbling score in this league. So, it could be slightly different than the league. But in this league, I have in the 2 games he started with Matt Ryan for this wide receiver 9, wide receiver 5, and then he was the wide receiver 47 and the wide receiver 61 with Sam Ehlinger. And then we're back to the wide receiver 10 this week with Matt Ryan so far. So
crazy.
Been super productive. I think Paris Campbell pick this guy up off of waivers. I think, you can start him next week as a wide receiver 3.
Yeah, absolutely. If he's still available, you got to go after him. Love it. Foster Morrow, kind of in that same territory as Juwan Johnson. I don't love having to go to him, but I feel like he's a healthy pivot at the tight end position.
Yep, absolutely. I'm not like I was telling the guys this morning. He's not someone that gets me too excited. Kind of the day was
Right.
saved by a touchdown. I don't think that'll happen most weeks, but if you do have some bye weeks coming up, or if you have two, it's a 2-catch league or something like that, he could be a deeper league flex option, kind of a back end wide receiver, tight end too.
Yep, absolutely. All right, next up we've got the Cowboys and the Packers. Started off slow, finished as a barn burner. Packers getting a victory, 4-6 now, 31-28 over Dub Boys. Dak looked good, but not great today. Had the 3 passing touchdowns, but those 2 turnovers were very, key junctures of the game. Reversing the momentum out of their favor. Tony Pollard, amazing. Keep Zeke on the sideline. Keep Zeke, eating, doing whatever he does on the sideline. Because man, Tony Pollard can do the work. 22, 115 on the ground with a rushing touchdown. Was a good matchup up against the Packers. They've allowed the 3rd most rushing yards, to the running back position, but they had only allowed like a few rushing touchdowns to running backs this year. So it was great to see him finish. Man, CeeDee Lamb doing that work, 11 for 150, 2 receiving touchdowns. Christian Watson coming out of nowhere, putting up Randy Moss boss type numbers, 4 for 107 and 3 receiving touchdowns. Did not hear that wrong. 3 touchdowns on 4 catches for 107 yards. Had the cheat codes out today for Christian Watson. I'm excited about it in a couple of leagues. I'm really sad about it in a few others because Alan Lazard, finally came down to earth. Are you concerned about Lazard with Watson, having this big booming production? Are you buying that Watson has a safe floor going forward? What's your big takeaways from the Packers after this one? Because we actually, have quite a bit of varied production here, obviously.
I still like Alan Lazard. I had him ranked the top 20 this week, and he'll still be probably kind of a borderline top 25 option for me this next week. I still think he has a relatively safe floor. I'm taking some victory laps on Christian Watson. I was big on him before the year, especially compared to where people were kind of down on him compared to his draft capital. He just hasn't been
especially
healthy.
around like week 1, like the conversation had completely flipped. And I know that you and I had talked about that, like that kind of opening weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I never quite bought into Romeo Doubs. I know he was, he had some big weeks, but, he was among the league leaders in drop rate. Just not particularly impressive in my opinion. And Christian, before he got a concussion a couple weeks ago, he had stepped in already in wide receiver 2 sets ahead of him. So I expect that to continue even when Romeo Doubs comes back here probably in a few weeks. So Christian Watson, boom bust play. I'm not putting him in lineups yet, but for dynasty purposes, I do feel excited about him. But Lazard will be my play next week at least.
Gotcha.
Aaron Jones.
Yep, that's what I was just about to ask you about next. Go ahead.
Yeah, Aaron Jones, fantastic. 24 carries, 138 yards. He's getting all that opportunity. He had a down week prior to this past week, prior to this last week. But before that, though, he got hurt last game, so he had to come out early. But prior to that, he was the RB4 and RB12. So, and he was the RB4 this week, at least on the rankings that I'm looking at. So I think you can lock him in as a solid RB1. Just like he's the best skill player in this offense, and there's nowhere else for that ball to go.
Yeah, that's what I was going to get after was like, if you're going to own somebody in this offense, it has to be Aaron Jones, right? Like I still, even after this production, Aaron Rodgers, 14 for 20, 224 in the air, 3 passing touchdowns. Don't trust it. Trying to sell it if I still can, because the Packers offense has just not been a solid product all season long. Aaron Jones is the big buy candidate. If you can still go out there and make moves. I don't want to overbuy on Christian Watson, but if it's possible, if someone's feeling like, oh, this will be the best game of his career, it very well might be. I'm going to sell him now, then buy in on him for sure if you don't have to spend too much. But he'll definitely be a huge target on the waiver wires this week for certain. That'll be a big factor. From the Cowboys, Gallup 4 for 35. Maybe better days are coming. Maybe this is a good direction for him. The floor has been pretty low so far through the start of the season for him. I know he's only been healthy for like a handful of games, but it's been pretty underwhelming, and it feels like he's still getting comfortable out there. I felt like this week, again, a good step in the right direction. Lamb, I had mentioned his production already, but there were some big misconnects between him and Dak that led to those interceptions. That's not really going to hurt us or concern us for fantasy, but just, something to keep an eye out for going forward. You're really not doing anything else other than that. Kevontae Turbin, he had a pulse, catch for 9 yards. Let's do more of that. Let's do more of that, fellas. Come on now. Let's make it happen. All right, last one up here, and we're at halftime right now. Chargers are up 16-10. Let's see. Herbert has a passing touchdown. Who has the other one? Oh, DeAndre Carter has the same one, but where's their – oh, those are all field goals? Damn. Ouch. Stop with the field goals. We need touchdowns. It's fantasy. Come on now. I was thinking that I was missing a touchdown somewhere. All right, next one up here, ending this show with the toilet bowl of the day, the Cardinals and the Rams. Colt McCoy versus John Wolford. Yeah, this isn't a 3-10 to Yuma, but this was quite the showdown here for sure. Wolford, 24 for 36, 212 in the air, 1 passing touchdown, 1 interception. Colt McCoy shooting the lights out, 26 for 37, 238 in a passing touchdown. Definitely looked like the better backup on the day. Certainly the more NFL experienced quarterback in Colt McCoy. I was sad. I thought it was going to be Trace McSorley. I thought it was Trace McSorley season in week 10. It wasn't. It wasn't Trace McSorley. It was Colt McCoy. Colt McCoy doing some good stuff. Kept DeAndre Hopkins alive and well. Same for Rondell Moore. 10 for 98 for D-Hop. Rondell Moore, 9 for 94. Huge buy candidate if you still can here at the deadline. But I'm more so concerned about the Rams here because no Matt Stafford. We saw Cooper Kupp get hurt in this one. Only 3 catches, -1 yard. And then we saw kind of the rise up again, the resurrection of Tyler Higbee, 8 for 73. Had a couple of really down weeks. He bounced back this week. Allen Robinson, 4 for 44. Safe day. Kyren Williams, I believe he had just 4 touches. He had 3 catches for 30 yards and I think a carry. Not as advertised or as expected. I think that we felt like we were getting more touches with kind of the buildup and the excitement of him coming off the IR. Van Jefferson does find the end zone here. If we're missing Cooper Kupp for any serious amount of time, I mean, this season feels like it's been over for a while. But, Matt Stafford hurt, Cooper Kupp hurt now, potentially here. Higbee, Robinson, Van Jefferson, Skoranek. Like, who's going to be this guy going forward? Are we going to be guessing who it is week in and week out? Or will someone kind of, steady out with a safe floor that we trust, to close down the season?
Yeah, it's tough here. One big headline is, Zach Ertz going down, getting carted off.
Oh, that too,
injury. Yeah, that's unfortunate. He's expected to miss multiple weeks. It says that they think his ACL is intact, but he is expected to miss multiple weeks. So that's unfortunate. So will be a boost to Rondell Moore and DeAndre Hopkins in the near future. This offense will likely be heavily concentrated on those two players.
Do you think that Trey McBride will hold a pulse in fantasy? Do you think that'll be a thing?
I'll have to wait. It's really hard to predict. I think, he has all the talent in the world, but, I'm just not ready to say that is going to be a definitive case. Like I said, I really do expect probably DeAndre Hopkins, Rondell Moore to get, just a heavily target concentration. James Conner to probably get a little step up in targets too.
Sure.
Yeah, you just see James Conner just immediately step back into the lead role. Obviously, they weren't impressed with Benjamin too much. He is just back to an afterthought now. Ingram got the only other carry. So James Conner, you can lock him back in as like maybe a top 15, top 16 running back play.
Mm-hmm.
Rondell Moore entering that high-end wide receiver 3 kind of conversation. Maybe be even back-end wide receiver 2 with Zach Ertz out. The Rams offense is super ugly. Cooper Kupp, hopefully he doesn't miss any extended period of time. But as far as the pass catchers I'm looking at, Tyler Higbee caught all 8 of his targets today for 73 yards. If Cooper Kupp's going to miss any time, this is the guy I expect to get a little bit more of an uptick. He's been disappointing these last few weeks, but he'll enter back into the tight end 1 discussion. And I like Van Jefferson. I caught all 3 of his targets today for 27 yards and a touchdown. They're easing them back in, but he's already kind of stepped back in over, Skoranek did have 7 targets today, but I still think Van Jefferson's a little more talented, so I expect him to kind of take back over that role. And Allen Robinson, disappointing as usual. So I don't expect that he hasn't shown me anything to suggest that he's going to get over that 4 or 5 catches for 40 yards.
Yeah, Van Jefferson was going to be my pick just because of what I feel they can do with him on offense. They can be mischievous and deceptive and, get him a reverse, get him a swing play or something like that, and also use him as a deep threat. Like if the speed is coming back more and more as the weeks go on, Van Jefferson would be the guy that I'm looking for out of that group here. Trey McBride will definitely be an interesting waiver piece in a lot of deeper leagues. You don't need to run to him in, like your 10, 12 single QB type leagues or anything like that. But yeah, I definitely think he'll get added at a high clip. The running game for the Rams, I don't want any part of it. I mean, even if I see somebody boom next week, like sure, if you got a roster spot, maybe you throw them on your bench, but I don't feel like that will play out to be the narrative for the rest of the season. I feel like it'll be a revolving door for the rest of the season. Akers, Williams, Henderson, Akers, Williams, Henderson. I don't think anyone's really going to, rise to the top here. So I'm holding off if I can. If you're really desperate, Henderson did find the end zone this week. Maybe they lend a little bit more favor to him in scoring territory. But the longest carry was for 10 yards from Akers. And, then he went 5 for 12 the rest of the day. Not very good,
Yeah, it's ugly. I just can't believe where we are with this I can't believe we are with so many. It's just insane to me this year. Like, just where we are with the Tampa Bay offense, the Denver Bronco offense, the Rams offense, the Packers offense. It's a crazy year. Just that safe quarterback, late quarterback ones that we thought were all sitting there for us in the late parts of drafts are just crashing and burning hard.
It sucks. All right, you got anything to share before we head out?
I'll be working on the Fab article tonight and tomorrow. I'll be dropping that tomorrow night. I'll drop a Dynasty article for 5-yard rush, and I'll do a weekly article for the Fantasy Coaches podcast. But most importantly, I'll be doing the Underdog podcast. Andrew Robb will be taking the article, I think, this week, but I'll be doing the podcast this Friday morning. So we'll look forward to talking some more Underdog Battle Royale.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate you folks riding along with us tonight. Be sure to download the episode and leave us a positive review. Appreciate all the feedback. Take care, be well, be good. And if you can't be good at it. We'll see you.
Take it easy.